So, 3 years after Spider-Man: Homecoming, and just two Spider-Man movies before this, we finally get another movie with the main incarnation of Spider-Man. But is it just as good as Spider-Man: Homecoming? Let's find out. Spider-Man Far From Home is the newest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is the first movie to show in MCU after the events of Avengers Endgame. This is a sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. It's the 23rd movie in this franchise, and it is the 23rd and final film in the Infinity Saga era, or Thanos era, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, 5 years after the events of Spider-Man Far From Home, the Midtown School of Science and Technology restarts its year to accommodate the students returning after the second snap, referred as the blip. And what happens is we follow Peter Parker once again, and he is still over the loss of his mentor Tony Stark, who died in Avengers Endgame. That is a spoiler alert in case you have not seen Avengers Endgame. And so what happens is, to get away from the death of Tony Stark and to get away from being a superhero, and he wanted to be normal, he goes on a school trip to Europe with his classmates. While he's on this trip, he is recruited by Nick Fury to team up with Quentin Beck, also known as Mysterio, who is a master of trickery and illusion to battle elementals. And while he does that, we do find out some twists and turns, and therefore he has to basically step up and decide to take the place of Iron Man. Like I said, this is directed by Jon Watts, starring Tom Holland, Zendaya, Samuel L. Jackson, Cobie, Smulders, Jon Favreau, J.B. Smoove, Jacob Batalon, Angourie, Martin Starr, Marisa, Tomei, and Jake Gyllenhaal, and is based on the character of the same name created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Now, before I get into the movie itself, be sure, if you are not subscribed to the channel, come over to Future Filmmaker 340 Reviews, where we talk movies, TV shows, and music, and we do reactions, vlogs, rankings, etc. And be sure to follow all my social media links down below to all of my social media that I am available on, and be sure to use my hashtags join the Epitasticness and Future Filmmaker 3940. So let's get into Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, going into Spider-Man Far From Home, I was excited. I was really excited to see another Spider-Man movie, because Spider-Man, he's one of those characters you just can't get enough of. And when it comes to me and the Spider-Man franchise, I adored the classic and 1990s TV series. The TV series on Disney XD that ran on, I think is pretty decent. But in terms of the film series, the 2002 Spider-Man always had a special place in my heart, because that was the movie that introduced me to Spider-Man. I love that film, and Spider-Man 2 was just as great as the first Spider-Man, and it not only was just as great, it was a sequel that improved on the original. Spider-Man 3 has a lot going on. It does have some issues, and there are some stuff that didn't need to be there, but I overall enjoyed Spider-Man 3 to a certain extent, and it was my favorite Spider-Man movie until another movie here. But it's still my favorite of the Sam Raimi trilogy, despite its flaws. The Amazing Spider-Man series, the Mark Webb movies, are just not that great. The first Amazing Spider-Man, I've been very conflicted on, but now I go into the side where I hate the Amazing Spider-Man. First, I hated it, then I liked it, then I thought it was okay. Now I really stand on the hate side. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I overall enjoy, but at the end of the day, it is far from a perfect movie. And when it comes to this MCU incarnation, I enjoy Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I loved his appearance in Captain America Civil War. Spider-Man Homecoming was just awesome. It was a return to form for the Spider-Man character after the Amazing Spider-Man series. And his appearances in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame were really awesome. And as far as the other two related Spider-Man movies, Venom, the more I think about Venom, the more frustrated I become with that movie, because I generally just do not like that movie at all. And the fact that the sequel is coming out next year, I can care less. Already one of my least anticipated movies of 2020, right next to the sequel to After. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite of the Spider-Man movies, because it managed to be something different, and it managed to take what we know about the Spider-Man series and do something different, but at the same time honoring that character. And it also has given me the best interpretation of the Gwen Stacy in the case of Haley Steinfeld's Spider-Gwen. So there's a lot I really enjoy in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, going into Spider-Man Far From Home, because of the events of Infinity War and Endgame, they didn't want to ruin anything. And they attempted to reveal in spoilers until after it came out. It wasn't until the second trailer where they gave away the spoiler of what was going to happen and what this movie was going to be. So I was excited to see what they do with Far From Home. I thought it was really fun. And then the returning cast members coming back, but you also had Mysterio coming in there, and you also had Samuel L. Jackson and Cobie Smulders and Jon Favreau coming into the mix, and Jake Gyllenhaal coming into this movie as Mysterio. And what I appreciate with these newer Spider-Man movies is that we're getting villains that we have not seen before. Homecoming started with Vulture, and Into the Spider-Verse continued it with Kingpin. So, but I was also a little worried that because of what happened in Avengers Infinity War, how they were going to do this. But man, I gotta tell you, they did it. They managed to outdo themselves with another great Spider-Man movie. However, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is still the better movie. Now let's get into the pros, the light side of this movie. Because there's one positive I still have is that Tom Holland, he's still great as Peter Parker, Spider-Man. He is a British actor, but he fits this character very well. In this movie, he's a lot more different than he was in Spider-Man Homecoming. In Homecoming, he was longing for responsibilities as an adult. And this movie, he wants to hang on to his youth. And what this movie is basically about the world telling him he has to step up and grow up. And you see moments of him wanting to go on vacation and still being a regular kid. And you do get to see his funny and entertaining relationship with Zendaya as MJ, which I'll get to. And Tom Holland, he's the second best, still the second best actor to play Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire will always be the best interpretation, but he is way better than Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And I gotta say, he was really good. Once again, it's Peter Parker. You see him wanting to be a kid, but you also have to see the vulnerability in him having to deal with the death of Iron Man at the end. And even me, after seeing Avengers Endgame, I'm still not over Tony dying. And a lot of people aren't either. But I accepted it because there was no other way of doing what had to be done to stop Thanos at the end of that movie. This movie, you get to see him hanging out, doing what he do, and he still has some very funny jokes. A lot of people complain with Spider-Man Homecoming that the humor went too far, but I like the humor. I really love the humor, and I like the storytelling that they decided to pull here. It's a different story than what we're used to seeing in Spider-Man, and I do appreciate the fact that it's not in New York City. We're actually going around the world, and that was pretty awesome. It is very cool to see that. Now, of course, the next positive I do have to give is to Jon Watts' direction. His direction, once again, this is a director who knows what he's doing. He knew what he was doing with Spider-Man: Homecoming, and he continues what he was doing here. He's basically taking this character into places and into directions that you never would expect. And that's what I applaud in Jon Watts as a director, and what I applaud the writers of this movie and Spider-Man: Homecoming for doing, and what I applaud Kevin Feige for wanting to do with this character. And it made me happy because you're getting a different side of Spider-Man that you normally necessarily wouldn't want to see, but at the same time, it's refreshing to have a different sort of idea with Spider-Man. And so I definitely have to give credit to where credit is due on the directors and the writers' part. And the script is just amazingly well written. There are a lot of moments where the script is just very well executed, and there are some very good lines of dialogue in this movie, especially the back and forth with Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, which I'm gonna say, Mysterio, this is one of the best MCU villains, and this is one of the best Spider-Man villains ever. So it is very awesome to see that. And it's good to have a villain who is not someone we've seen before. Because we've seen Green Goblin, we've seen Dr. Octopus, we've seen Venom, we've seen Sandman, we've seen Electro. We've seen all those villains, but seeing a different villain here definitely puts a smile on my face. Of course, I can't go without talking about the rest of the cast in this movie. You have Zendaya, once again, as MJ. She does great once again, and Zendaya, she's awesome in this movie. And I like her scenes with Tom Holland. A lot of people didn't like her in Spider-Man: Homecoming, but I was one of those people who did. And I gotta say, she once again brought her A game here. You also have Samuel L. Jackson back again as Nick Fury, but this time it's still Nick Fury, but it's like an impersonator. But he was really great, and this movie puts him in a situation where he doesn't want to be on the same level of control that he's used to having, and that's what I like about Samuel Jackson. He is a great actor, and he's once again great as the character. Then we also have the returning Cobie Smulders as Maria Hill. She was great in this movie as once again, and this movie gives her a lot more to do this time around. It may not be super much, but it was great seeing Cobie Smulders come back for what he was doing. And Jon Favreau is Happy Hogan. He was really great, and he's looking after Peter Parker, and he was really great. And I like that they use him to explore the idea of trying to find your place if the center of your world is gone, given the friendship he had with Tony Stark. So I really like that. You also have J.B. Smoove as Peter Parker's teacher and chaperone on his trip to Europe. And J.B. Smoove, he's very funny, especially on Cedric the Entertainer Presents, so it was good seeing him in the movie. You also got Martin Starr as Mr. Harrington. He was pretty cool. You also got Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds. Ned is still pretty funny. He didn't annoy me and he didn't annoy me in the movie. So I really liked him. You got Marisa Tomei as Aunt May Parker. Just a hot Aunt May in here. She's still pretty great in here for the screen time she's given. But I have to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, because Jake Gyllenhaal, this guy's a great actor. Always have been. I liked him ever since The Day After Tomorrow, and it's him as Mysterio. I like Mysterio as a villain. They do some different things with him that they did, so they make him different than he was in the comics. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty cool, and they brought him in this franchise the way people were expected. Now I know some people would not gonna like the way they interpret him, but I enjoyed the way that they decided to handle him in this movie. And when you see the twist at the end of the movie, I gotta say that was a hell of a plot twist. So Mysterio, he was a great villain, mastery of trickery and illusion, and this movie sets up the multiverse, which the MCU they set it up at the end of Avengers Endgame, but it's this movie that really brings the multiverse into full play, and that's pretty cool. And you do have some other elementals through the special effects with Sandman, Hydro Man, Molten Man, all that. That was pretty cool to see. It's like this is a dream come true seeing new villains that we've never seen before. So all the acting all around is really great. Also, I like the movie. They still keep maintaining the humor and they still maintain the comedy of Homecoming. And this movie is just immediately after Endgame, and I really like that. And this movie, and the director had a creative challenge to deal with many of the unanswered questions from Avengers Endgame, and they did that. It's still a fun Spider-Man movie, but this movie they still managed to make a movie that is dealing with the fact that this is the new MCU now. And it deals with all of those story arcs, unanswered questions from the last movie. But it's very awesome to see all that, and I really do appreciate what they're trying to do there. So that was very cool to see. The action sequences are very well done. You have some great action, a lot of awesome action scenes here. It's very fun. It's very entertaining, and you get a lot of great moments of action. There's never a single moment where the action doesn't feel boring. And Jon Watts, he knows how to do action. There's no shaky cam. There's no freaking quick cuts, quick editing like Suicide Squad did, which I like that movie, but the editing is very bad, very weird and off-putting at times. But overall, all the action scenes are well handled. It doesn't feel dull. They don't feel like it's chopped up to pieces. And you definitely feel the whole situation that Peter has to deal, and you deal with taking down the bad guys and trying to be a kid at the same time. And I love the new suits that they gave for him in this movie. You still have the suit from Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. You have the suit from Homecoming, and you have the black and red suit, which I really like that. And there's just a lot of play and a lot of flavor going into the film. There's never a moment where it feels like it becomes too much. Technical aspects, the cinematography by the cinematographer of this movie is really great. It's very gorgeous looking. You get shots of Italy and Europe, because that's the whole point of this title, Far From Home. So that was so the cinematography by Matthew Lloyd is really great, and the editing by Dan Lebentel and Lee Folsom Boyd is also really great too. I love the editing in the movie. But the musical score by Michael Giacchino is still really great. Michael Giacchino is a great composer. I love his music from the Star Trek films, and I love his music from Doctor Strange and Rogue One, Star Wars story. But I really dig what they were trying to do with this film, and the drama and the humor. They still hold on to that here, and you have a lot of memorable action sequences. The action sequences are not as epic as they were in the last movie with Spider-Man, but they feel more like action sequences than anything Mark Webb did. And the fact that they went in a different direction and breaking tradition of the Spider-Man movies, I like that. And and were taking place in the post-Avenger Endgame. I like that part too. And you get a lot of different twists and a lot of great production design as well. And that, I feel like that was really great. Now, there is one little thing in between. And the in-between thing is that the whole relationship with Ned and Betty Brant, played by Angourie Rice, is a cute relationship, but I feel like you could have done a little bit better to make it stand out and be a part of the positives, but overall, that's the only thing in between, because there is a few negatives, but they don't hurt the grade. Now, I do love this movie, but like I said, Spider-Verse is still the better movie. Now, the downsides I do have with this movie is that I wish Marisa Tomei's Aunt May was in this movie a little more than she is, because she feels more in the background than one of the most important characters, and it does feel that way at times. Also, there is a certain thing in the third act that I wasn't a big fan of. It's not the twist. The twist was great. It's just this whole other thing I wasn't a big fan of during the credits. I get it. They're trying to bring a well-known character from the Sam Raimi films back for the new series, but I wasn't really a fan of that. I feel like you could completely cut that credit scene out, and the movie wouldn't make a whole lot of difference. And the movie does overstay its welcome just a little bit. This is 2 hours and 9 minutes, and there were a few moments where the film had to slow down a little bit. But I do understand why they were trying to do it. But just a little bit with the runtime. It is not like it completely drags. This movie is way more shorter than Avengers Endgame, and anything here is way better than last year's Venom or the soon-to-be released Joker. And it does feel like there is a little too many things happening all at once, but it never gets to the point of being overly complicated as it would have been, as it could have been. And give my final verdict to Spider-Man Far From Home. Be sure to follow all my social media links in the description box down below. Also, be sure to come over, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel for more epitasticness. And be sure to tell me what you think of Spider-Man Far From Home. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you in between? Whatever. Let's have a friendly, optimistic, nice discussion on Spider-Man Far From Home. And where do you would like to see Spider-Man go from here in the MCU? So, overall, despite the film being a little too much going on and the film overstaying its welcome and the underusage of Aunt May, there is still a lot of great things to appreciate when it comes to Spider-Man Far From Home. It still maintains the awesomeness of Spider-Man Homecoming. It goes into a different direction. It takes a lot of chances. There's a lot of twists and turns that the movie decides to go, and I have to say that they really outdid themselves here. They embody responsibility, putting friends in danger. They kept that essential to the character. You have a great back and forth with Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal. The relationship development is really great. The twist is really great. Zendaya was really great here. The movie has a lot of twists and turns. Great villain. A lot of great turns. Hilarious teenage situations. A lot of great performances. A lot of music and a lot of awesomeness. And it ends this era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a very satisfying way. So all in all, while it's not as silver approval worthy as Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home will definitely go in the highest of the high. Now I'm going to give this, on my rating system, better than Vampire Diaries. It's still really great. It just doesn't match. It just falls short of Spider-Man Homecoming just a little bit. And this is definitely my third favorite Spider-Man film. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do an updated Spider-Man ranking and then rank all the whole Infinity Saga era from the strongest to the weakest. So when we do that, you'll see where it goes. But for now, Spider-Man Far From Home is better than Vampire Academy. So that was my take on Spider-Man Far From Home. What do you guys think of it in the comment section down below? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's underrated? Do you think it's overlooked? Be sure to follow all of my social media links. Come subscribe to the channel where I talk movies, TV, music. I do reviews, rankings, top 10s, fan all your commentaries, etc. And you guys keep it cool, enjoying the epic task.